Okay, guys, and we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest, and this episode is going to be a quick last-minute prediction video for the UFC Fight Night main event between Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley. This is in the welterweight division, UFC welterweight division, a five-round fight, but probably won't go the distance. Although you never know. The card as a whole is pretty underwhelming. There's some decent names on it: Rose Namajunas, Michael Chiesa, but other than that, really no big stars in this fight. So let's get straight into the main event then. Joaquin Buckley is currently streaking at welterweight. I think he's 4-0 at welterweight, or maybe even more. I think he's got four stoppages in a row at welterweight. His last two fights being his two biggest names in his resume being Wonderboy Thompson and Colby Covington, both who he fought back to back on pretty short notice, pretty quick turnaround as well. Which, Lonely Stoners podcast, Seth and Evan, we love to see that. We love to see quick turnarounds. We love to see stoppages. We love to see stoppages and quick turnarounds. That's what we love to see, right? And Joaquin Buckley's staying active. He's getting back in there. He's fighting not another former champion. This will be the first former champion he's fought, but another guy who was at one point right at the top of the welterweight division, right? Kobe Covington was at the top of the division one time. He was never champion, but was number one contender for a while. Same with Wonderboy Thompson as well. And now he's facing Kamaru Usman, who was a former champion. And many say one of the best welterweight champions of all time. In my opinion, I do tend to agree. I think some of his title defenses, looking back on him, he's not aged brilliantly. Fight a guy like Jorge Masvidal, facing Covington twice. Some of those victories haven't aged tremendously. But that being said, at the time, a lot of people were saying this guy is, on the verge of being as dominant as GSP, right? Obviously, recently, Usman's come on some hard times and he's got three losses in a row now. But again, against competition who, in my opinion, apart from Leon Edwards, you can't really be complaining about, right? So he got stopped by Leon Edwards. He then lost in a rematch to Leon Edwards and then fought Hamzat and lost again. Again, in my opinion, there's no shame in losing to Hamzat. I know, looking back on that fight, in my opinion, I think a lot of people give Usman a bit too much credit, right? I know Hamzat, is this guy who's got a lot of hype and unbeaten, run through a lot of people, but he did beat Usman, in my opinion. Hamzat Chimaev not convincingly, didn't shut him out, but in my opinion, I think Hamzat did comfortably beat Usman. Did give him some problems at times, and Hamzat's gas tank definitely didn't hold up as well as Usman's did. But still, Usman lost that fight pretty comfortably, in my opinion, and now he's coming back to fight Buckley. That being said, Buckley is a big puncher at welterweight as well. He's a big puncher, and for a guy who not recently got stopped. He got stopped a few years ago and hasn't really been wobbled. Sorry, hasn't really been wobbled or rocked since then. The Leon Edwards rematch was pretty much a snooze fest, and at that point, you kind of tell Usman's done mentally, because he wasn't willing to put up the same pace he put on Leon Edwards in the first fight and the second fight, because mentally he knows he can get knocked out by this guy. So didn't go full throttle, didn't go didn't go pedal to the metal, didn't give it 110%, and paid the price. Lost again. Then Hamzat was a 3-round fight, short notice. He lost that fight. But now that I'm talking about it, Kamaru Usman may not be that far past his prime now. Everyone knows his knees are cooked. Everyone knows that. But I'm thinking, a guy, he's not that far off his prime, and to be honest, hasn't taken a ton of damage since quote unquote leaving his prime. It's not like he's lost 3 fights and was slept 3 times in the first round. That wasn't the case at all. Leon Edwards was never really, in my opinion, never really close to finishing him. Same with Hamzat as well. Usman was more than a live body against Hamzat and definitely came to fight, right? But Hamzat, beat him. I was going to say Buckley could win this pretty comfortably. I was going to go with a Buckley finish, but now that I'm talking about it, no, to be fair, Buckley probably is the better striker. And when you've got bad knees the way Usman's got, I'd be surprised if you're really engaging in wrestling like that. Meaning, like a lot of his fights recently, they've pretty much just been kickboxing fights unless he was being taken down by Hamzat. Right, the second fight against Leon Edwards was pretty much just a kickboxing match because Usman wasn't able to engage the wrestling, and Leon Edwards just sort of was able to be passive enough to win each round and won the fight, right? So, like I said, it's pretty much just going to turn into a kickboxing match, and Buckley's got more power and technique for technique, probably is the better striker at this point as well. Because Usman was never really a great striker, had really long reach. And that really did help him. Had a really long reach, and that would help him win a lot of these fights. Like the Masvidal knockout. If you don't have those long arms that can, overextend and just wing everything into that cross, that 3-2 combo that stopped Masvidal. If you've not got the reach for that, then that doesn't work. You're out of range. You know. So in that sense, he's got something about him. But yeah, Buckley stopped Wonderboy, and he put a beat down on Kobe, pretty much using the striking as well, and was able to show some versatility as well in that fight. There was times when Buckley would be catching and rolling shots very nicely when Kobe was trying to apply pressure. Buckley, I think at one point, sort of switched to like a shoulder roll, fully shell style of striking and was catching shots and parrying and rolling with them. You'll never see Kamaru Usman do that. Kamaru Usman's not got that in his locker. And to be fair, at 38, he's not had that in his locker when he was younger. I don't want to see him try it now. But yeah, I'm probably going to go with Buckley for this. This will be close though. If Buckley doesn't get him out of there early, then this fight will be close because Usman, in my opinion, probably still can take a good shot. Like the shot Leon Edwards landed, that shot would knock out anyone. That was as clean of a head kick as it gets. Right, that shot would knock out anyone. Let's see though. Buckley's got power and he's got thunder in those fists. But I still fancy Usman to be able to take a shot. I'll be honest, I still fancy Usman to take a shot. But I'm going to go with a Buckley win. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Buckley will win this, or do you think Usman can win this? And if Usman wins this, surely he's not next in line for the title, right? You don't lose 3 in a row, then win 1 and get a title shot. But this is the UFC. This is the UFC, and Usman for some reason is still pretty highly ranked. So yeah, we'll see what's next. An Usman win wouldn't surprise me, but my money's going on Buckley. I'm not betting on this, disclaimer. I'm not betting on this fight, but if I was, Buckley would be my guy. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.